Glamour babes, welcome back to another episode of Glamour and Glory, where I retell a Bible story and do my makeup. Well, I practice my makeup at the same time, so don't get your hopes up, okay? My name is Sage, and I recently just started doing makeup when I was 30. But I've always loved Jesus since I was a child. But this is the look you're getting today. So if you like what you see, stick around. I'm gonna get better at this intro thing, I promise. But remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, I can't wait to see you in the next video. I'm having so much fun with these. More so, I'm having fun with makeup and just transferring myself into somebody else. Like, y'all gonna see what I look like before this, like, and I just felt so bad. So I was like, you know what? I want to do my makeup today, and I'm like, anytime I do my makeup now, I have to record it, so that's just a plus. But I'm not gonna hold you too long, so I'm gonna let you go. And like, subscribe, tell all your friends, share all of the things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey you guys, sorry about that intro, honestly. I usually do like a really good intro, and I don't know what happened, but yeah. So I didn't have a full intro. I just had to like splice those together. So sorry about that. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a concealer as a foundation because I did not have one that was like more my color, and I just wanted to see if that would make a difference in my makeup look, if it was more my color, if I would look less ghostly at the end when I put my powder on. Okay, so let's get into today's story. We are going through Genesis 16 through 18. I'm not sure how long it's gonna be, but it felt like it was getting long, so I just kind of cut it short. And then I didn't want to start the whole next section because, yeah, I like to just like bunch up the story to make sense when you get to the next part, if that makes sense. But anyways, let's just get into the story. And now we are going to be reading about Sarai and Hagar and they drama. You know, it's all about the drama anytime. Okay, so remember in the last one, Abram saves Lot, like from the 7 kings that were like fighting each other, 9 kings that were fighting each other. Abram saves Lot, all that happens. Okay, so it's been a little bit since that, and since God had made that first covenant with Abram. So now by this time, Abram's wife Sarai, she still had not had any children, and it's been years since that promise, and she still has not had any children. And she gets the idea that maybe her husband should try and have children through her Egyptian slave Hagar. So she goes to him and she says, like, she approaches Abram and she says, I still have not bore children. You know, God has not blessed me with children, so maybe you can have children through Hagar. Like, maybe we can have a family through Hagar. So Abram is down for it. He does not even consult God at all. He does not ask. He says, yes, this sounds like a wonderful plan. Can't wait. Let's do it today. Okay. He didn't say all that. I just add my extra commentaries. But he did not ask God. He just agrees with Sarai. And yeah, so he marries Hagar and sleeps with her, and she becomes pregnant. So once Hagar does become pregnant, she began to despise Sarai. So I had to look up what despise meant, because often we say despise and we think it's the same thing as hate, but I wanted to just be clear about that because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And it is a little bit different than actually hating someone, and like depending on when you use it. But from the dictionary, it means to regard as unworthy of one's notice or consideration. And then it can also mean like in an emotional response ranging from strong dislike to loathing. So now that Hagar is pregnant, Sarai's plan to build a family through Hagar kind of backfires, because now Hagar is treating Sarai like she's number one. She's like, oh, I'm number one now. I'm the baby mama. I'm carrying his baby. I'm worthy and you're not. And she was probably just saying some more like really mean things, just making Sarai wish she had never told Abram to sleep with her. Y'all know it's not an episode if I don't have a side note. But see, this is what happens when you do things without God. Adam and Eve ate from that tree, and Abram and Sarai started a whole generational line without God's blessing on the union and decision. You know, like he didn't ask about nothing. So now everything is falling apart. And so finally Sarai has had enough, and she confronts Abram about this, and she says, this is your fault. Like, I did this for you. I gave you Hagar so that you can have a son and we can have a family. And now she's being disrespectful and condescending, and she despises me. What would God say about this? What would he say? And then Abram is like looking like, Sarai, she's your slave. Do whatever to her you see fit. Whatever you feel is fit for her actions, do it. And so Sarai does. And then she begins to mistreat Hagar. And that's all the Bible says. But before that, the reminder that Hagar is your slave. You know, I just imagine, because the only like example of slavery that I know is like roots and stuff like that, like Black history slavery, like stuff that I was taught in school. So I can just imagine like what she is making Sarai do while she's pregnant. I mean, what she's making Hagar do while she's pregnant, like probably more physical labor, probably less food. She's probably getting beat, you know, like that constant reminder, like, okay, you know, she's probably enjoying this because Hagar was a little mean to her. You know, I wanted to say a different word, but we gonna try to refrain from profanity on this page. But if you catch me on TikTok, I might slip up. I'm working on it. It's about progression, not perfection, right? Okay. But yeah, so they were going back and forth, you know. So once Abram gave Sarai the green light, she just let Hagar have it. And instead of treating Hagar like the surrogate she had intended her to be, now she's treating her like the slave she already was. And it gets too much, so Hagar ends up running away, and she settles near a spring in the desert. And so the Lord sends an angel down to her, and this angel was like, Hagar, where are you going? Where are you coming from? And Hagar is like, look, I am running away from Sarai. She crazy. It doesn't say that she's crazy, but you can just imagine, you know, like, you know that saying, hell have no fury like a woman scorned. And Sarai was a scorned woman. Like, that's one of the definitions of despised. I feel like it's like, yeah, it was one of those. It was a word I saw over there. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So and so the angel tells Hagar to go back and submit to Sarai, and that she is to have the son and name him Ishmael, because the Lord has heard her misery. And so the angel told her that he would also like increase her descendants so much that you couldn't even count them. But then he goes and throws me off, and he says, this is Genesis 16:12. The angel says, he will be a donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him. And he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. End quote. Now, that don't sound good to me. It sounds like a curse. Like, I don't know. I didn't do enough research on like a wild donkey, like what that could mean. But I know words like hostility and hands against, those ain't good things. So I don't know. But, you know, I'm like, it don't sound good to me. But I was like, I wouldn't go back. But anyways, Hagar does go back. Before she leaves, because of this encounter, she names the well there Bir Lahai Roy. I hope I was saying that right. But it means, you are the God who sees me, for I have now seen the one who sees me. I don't know. That don't make sense to me. But that's what I wrote it from the Bible. That's what it said. I'll put it on the screen. But anyways. So, apparently the well is still there as well. Look, I'm gonna put some pictures into the well too. Cause that's cool. I would like to go see that. So Hagar goes back and, ends up, you know, giving birth to Ishmael. And this happened when Abram was 86 years old. So I always wanted to know how old Hagar was, because it never said. But when they had moved to Egypt, I know that Sarai, she's like 10 years younger than Abram, and they said she was like very beautiful and stuff, and she had to be like 70, right? And still very beautiful enough that a pharaoh would take her as his wife. So I don't know. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting to see, like, how fast does the body deteriorate from 70 to 90 when she has a baby, you know? Like, she's past childbearing age, but was she not past childbearing age at 70? Okay, I'm thinking too much about this. Sorry. Okay. 13 years later, Abram is now 99. So Hagar goes back. She gives birth to Ishmael. And then 13 years later, Abram is now 99, and God appears to him. He told Abram who he was, and to like walk before him faithfully and blameless. So Abram falls to the floor, and he's like bowing, and God begins establishing a covenant through Abraham. He changes his name, and I was already calling him Abraham, sorry, but this is where he changes his name from Abram to Abraham, because he will make him a father of many nations. And he also changes Sarai's name to Sarah, because he will make her a mother of many nations. And then he kind of laughs in his head and thinks like, Sarah gonna give me a baby at her old age, like bear a kid at 90 and me at 100. So he just tells God, like, flat out, like, look, I already got a kid, you know, Ishmael's over there. How about we just use him, you just bless him, and we be done with it. And God is like, yeah, I'll bless him too. He'll be the father of 12 rulers. He'll have many offspring, and he'll be well off. But this isn't about Ishmael. It's about Isaac. And Sarah will give birth to him around this time next year. I'm establishing this covenant with you because Isaac is the son that I promised you, where Ishmael is the son that Sarah promised you. And I mean, that little last part is not in there about Sarah and Ishmael, but it fits, don't it? Okay, so it's during this covenant that God also tells Abraham to like seal this promise in, that all men in his family line, or all the men or slaves, whoever brought with his money, have to be circumcised. And if anyone is not circumcised, they break the covenant. So they have to be. That is like one of the things, no, non-negotiable. So right after that conversation, Abram goes home, and he and Ishmael are circumcised right away, and he also circumcises everybody else. I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube, I'm sure. But he also, like, I just feel like I'm saying it a lot. But he also makes sure everybody else in his household or anybody bought with his money is circumcised as well, to seal in this covenant with God. So, Abraham was 99 years old and Ishmael was 13 when all this happens. And so it doesn't say how long later, but obviously not too long later. It's a hot day and Abraham is just standing like at the door of his tent, like just standing right there. And so he looks up and he sees three men standing nearby. And so he hurries over to them. He recognizes them as men of the Lord, and he like bows down to greet them, and he says, you know, come stay with me, you know, sit and rest up, recharge a little bit before continuing on to your journey wherever you're going. And so these men agree, and Abraham quickly like has a calf and bread prepared for them. And so once it's done, the men are eating, and Abram's standing nearby, like just under the shade of a tree, and watching them, I guess, you know, just amazed. I would be amazed too if men of God, or men of God, like, were in my home like that, you know, and I was able to like wait on them. That's an honor, honestly. So he was probably just sitting there talking to them, and then they ask, you know, where's Sarah? And he's like, oh, she's there. She's in the tent. And one of them said, when I return this time next year, she's going to have a son. And Abraham knew this already. You know, that's why everybody was circumcised. There's no way you're going to do a mass circumcision and not believe like God is going to come through with his promise, you know. But Sarah was eavesdropping, and so this was news to her. Now, I'm not sure if Abraham never told Sarah that this was going to happen, or maybe he did tell her, but it had been so long, she had already lost faith, you know, like she was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but I'm not counting on it, you know. Whereas Abraham, he's like he's skin in, you know, he's literally skin in. At the point, you know, like he's got skin in the game. So he definitely is like, he believes. But now Sarah, I guess, hearing it out of her own eye, like her own ears, is like, oh, okay. You know, so she laughs, and because she's like eavesdropping. So she laughs, and she's just tickled. So she's like, washed up me? Like, I'm supposed to have a kid. I'm supposed to start a family. I'm in my old age. I'm all washed up. And then God comes in. I don't know where God came from. Like, I mean, he's always there, but he came down, like, because Sarah even heard God talking. So the voice came down, like he was upset that Sarah was laughing. And he's like, Abraham, why is Sarah laughing at what they're saying? Saying she's too old. Is there anything too hard for me? I will return next year and she will have a son. And so Sarah was hearing this and she got scared. And she was like, no, I didn't laugh. I did not laugh. And, you know, God was like, no, you did laugh. You know, you kind of know, like, when your parent does something or says something you don't like, and you just kind of mumble something under your breath, and they like what you say, and you're like, I ain't say nothing, but they heard you, you know, they heard you. That's kind of like the vibes this is giving. That's what's happening. So, but you know, but Sarah probably lied because she didn't want him to take that promise away. Like, if it was true, she didn't want him to change his mind, and she didn't want him to like wait any longer, you know. But God probably confronted Sarah so that anytime she feels that little baby moving around in her stomach, or anytime she sees him, once he starts hitting all those milestones, she'll remember how she doubted him, and she'll never doubt him again. You know, God he be putting us in check like that sometimes. So after this incident, and they're done eating and resting up and everything, they get ready to get on their way. And Abraham walks them out, like, you know how you walk someone out to their car or something like that. He kind of just walks them out along the road that they're headed towards, and they look downhill and they look at Sodom. And so the Lord decides to tell Abraham his intentions, and it's to destroy Sodom and, you know, and make sure that no one's left. Like, he's just going to destroy the city. And Abram's looking like, And so the three men go on to Sodom, you know, to carry out the plan of, you know, God's plan. And Abraham looks at God, and he's like, forgive me, but you're going to destroy Sodom for the sin. But what about the righteous? Will they die too? That's not the God I know. It's not right. And so he asked God, if there are 50 righteous people, are you still going to like destroy the people? Or are you going to let those 50 people die? And so God is like, look, if there are 50 righteous people in Sodom, I won't destroy it. And Abraham kind of takes God back and forth. They go back and forth from 50 people all the way down to 10 people. And then God is finally like, look, if there's 10 righteous people, I'll spare the whole city. And I think Abraham was doing this because, remember, Lot lives there. So he's like, but what about my nephew? And I really think that was the only person he cared about, like him and his family. And he was just trying to see if God would spare him without asking if God would spare him. You know, I think that's what it was. But God does agree, and he says, if there are even just 10 righteous people, I will not destroy Sodom. And so after this conversation, God leaves and Abraham goes back home. And I'm gonna just stop it right there. That's gonna be it for today, because this video is already getting a bit long. And we're gonna pick it back up with part 2, where you know, Lot, Sodom getting destroyed, and what happens with Hagar and Sarah, like between them. Now that Sarah knows she's about to have a baby, it's always drama between them two, right? And then if I have time, I might go into another story. But yes, I had really fun reading these ones. Drama, and it's more drama than I can like say. It's like, but when I'm reading it, how I just said it to you, that's kind of like what's going on in my head. And I think I'm going to just kind of keep it that way. So like my little commentary, you know, but if you want to know exactly what was said and get your own impersonation of it, then I do suggest you read the Bible on your own. But for now, I hope you enjoy my commentary. And I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. I'm trying to figure out if I should post Mondays and Wednesdays or Wednesdays and Fridays. I don't know yet, but twice a week for now is my goal until further notice, you know? So thanks again so much. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.